contain graphic descriptions and/or explicit content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everybody. I'm Key,
NIV.
and this is We Shouldn't Talk About This.
Good day to you, Key.
A good day to you, sir.
How are you doing this day?
I'm good. It's sunny, but it's kind of chilly.
Mhm.
I'm in the house. My kitchen light is flashing super fast because this is one of those fluorescent lights, and I think it might throw me into a seizure. But let's see if we can power through.
Yeah, let's power through that.
Yeah.
I have lots of smart light bulbs. I wonder if they make smart fluorescent bulbs or like LED fluorescent size bulbs. I'm sure they do.
Oh, I wonder. That's a good question because this flickering is driving me slowly insane.
Yeah, it can't be healthy.
It can't be.
You know what else is unhealthy?
What's that?
When people go missing. I was about to say when pissing goes meeple, but when people goes missing.
I think that first one is probably unhealthy too.
hmm
But yeah, that's something we should discuss that today.
And you know what? This isn't our first go round with missing people either.
Oh no, this is our third, so it's like the trifecta. We had missing people who were found, missing people who haven't been found, and missing people who sadly were found deceased.
Yeah, so that will be today's breakdown, today's journey, today's stories.
Yeah, and mine is kind of weird. Like, I guess, I don't know, it's all about like your personality and family dynamic in this story. Because I don't think anybody in our family could be missing for this long and nobody knows.
Oh my gosh. All right. I am ready to hear about this then.
All right. Well, gather round, children.
It's
It's
time for
time to
telecrime.
tell a crime. Well, my story is about Pia Davida Fahrenkampf, who was born September 16th, 1965, in Boston, Massachusetts, to Joseph and Marie Fahrenkampf. She was one of 10 children. Could you imagine?
10. 1 of 10. Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine?
Now I have a trouble remembering my siblings' names.
I know you only got three of them. Well, seven if you include your step siblings, but still.
But still.
But Pia was very smart, but kind of a loner in high school. She was the treasurer of the National Honor Society. She was always reading, her mother Marie said to a university newspaper article. When there was no other books around, she read an encyclopedia. Again, could you imagine just reading the encyclopedia for fun?
Nope, I surely could not.
And for you young listeners, Google what's encyclopedias, because I know you probably don't know.
Yeah, think about Wikipedia, but in a large, large book.
And there were volumes, like 30 of them. And that's how you did your research.
At a library with Ethernet cables, not Wi Fi.
Or the Dewey Decimal System before internet.
Dewey Decimal System. I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what the Dewey Decimal System is? Oh my gosh, I'm really aging myself.
Yes.
So back to the story. Let's get off of this topic. Besides getting good grades, Fahrenkopf painted and drew and won an art award while attending high school. The Boston Globe reported the award in its January 17th, 1980 edition. However, tragedy struck in 1981 when their father Joseph died while Pia was still in high school. Undeterred, though, Pia received a college scholarship at the University of Massachusetts Boston and began attending classes there in the fall semester of 1983. She attended UMass Boston on and off and took classes at nearby Bunker Hill Community College in 1985. but she didn't graduate from either, school records show. By the 1990s, though, she was working for a technology company in Little Rock, Arkansas, programming banking software for loan applications.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, in the 1990s, she was programming software and she didn't even graduate college. So those encyclopedia readings must have really paid off
Oh
because
yeah,
it seems like she
absolutely.
was very smart. So Pia traveled extensively to Scotland, England, and around the US for her job. She was well paid and saved much of her money. We worked in the international division, so everybody in that department traveled a lot. A coworker named Joan Gill Strack recalled, it wasn't unusual for people to be gone for a month and then come back for a week or two and then be gone for another month or two. The two became close, and Strack visited Michigan shortly after Fahrenkopf moved to the state in 1999 for her career. Now, Pia didn't have a lot of friends, and that was just fine with her, Strack said. She was a very private person, and she didn't want a whole slew of people around. She never married or had children. Now, according to Strack, Pia didn't talk much about her childhood or family, but she kept in contact with some of her siblings, including a sister who lived in Arkansas. But even when she was in touch, it was on her terms. Siblings recalled long stretches of time where they wouldn't hear from Fahrenkopf, who would often not return phone calls. Both Strack and Pia's sisters said she didn't always answer the phone or return calls. Even when one of her sisters died in 2007, the family was unable to reach Pia. However, Pia, by all accounts, was doing well. She continued to work at Pontiac Fidelity National Information Services, where she was an exemplary employee. In 2003, she began to plan to open a small business of her own, a fitness business in nearby Waterford called Slender Lady. Uh-huh.
Wait,
And
do you know who Slender Man is?
I've heard of Slender Man, yes.
Interesting. Slender Lady. Hmm. You may continue.
Yeah, maybe she would have rethought the name, maybe, possibly, but that's what she wanted to call it, Slender Lady. She struggled with her weight throughout her life, and that may have been the motivation behind the business. Now, it's unclear what happened to the dream for Slender Lady, but court records indicate that the venture did not end well. Fahrenkopf did not respond to a lawsuit in 2005 charging that she had broken the lease in Waterford. The company that sued was awarded more than $101,000 in a default judgment, although it's unclear how much, if any, was ever collected. But they were not the only company seeking money from her. Three lawsuits filed in 50th District Court in Pontiac from 2005 to 2007 accused her of not paying credit card bills. With accumulating interest, the companies received judgments totaling more than $15,000. Court records from the two later suits, both filed in 2007, had a recurring theme. It was hard to reach Fahrenkopf. Occupant has been refusing to answer door and evading services, one court document said. Another handwritten note will not take mail out of box or answer the door. Fahrenkopf's Homeowners Association also began obtaining liens against her for unpaid dues, eventually totaling about $2,400. Now, here's where I'm mad. I refuse to live anywhere where there's a homeowners association. You are not going to make me pay you to tell me how to live in my own house that I pay for.
Yeah, that's very. I don't know. That's very weird.
I refuse.
Because like that's just like the most like, oh, we care about what people see on the outside kind of thing. Like why should anyone care what anyone else thinks? First of all, like it's your house, your land. If you want it to be messy, let it be messy. If you want to have Bermuda grass, have Bermuda grass. Like It doesn't matter. It's your stuff. Don't. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's so stupid.
Now, I can understand, like, they want it for the aesthetic of the neighborhood, but I'm not going to pay an association to tell me, "Oh no, your house can't be this color. Your grass is too high. You can't plant these flowers in front of your house." Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
People, stop buying into this homeowners association racket. Okay, off my soapbox. So, police showed up at her home in 2005 to check on her. Neighbors have reported they hadn't seen her in a month, and shut-off notices were on the porch. Inside, her cat Bungie and white poodle baby, pets that she adored, were found abandoned, a police report said. It's unclear where Fahrenkopf was, but there was no record she ever tried to reclaim the animals. Now, in 2008, Fahrenkopf resigned from her job abruptly without giving anyone much explanation. Pia's friend said she had no direct knowledge of what happened, but heard that Pia tried to retract her resignation and was told no. The month she resigned, her bank account had $87,199.80 in it, according to a report by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. No more deposits were made after that. It's unclear how she spent her days after she stopped working, though. Like, she was that much of a recluse that nobody knows what she was doing after she quit her job.
Man, that's crazy.
Now, all these lawsuits were happening before she even quit her job. So you can kind of see how she lives, I guess. Like, she wouldn't open any mail, wouldn't answer the door for anybody, lawsuits, everything. She just ignored everything. So she was pulled over in October 2008 and cited for driving with a suspended license, expired plates, and no proof of insurance. On February 25th, 2009, $1,500 was withdrawn from her account, and it was the last deduction she made.
Hmm.
Deputies have not found anyone who saw her or had contact with her after that date, but her life was so carefully regimented that things could have set off alarms didn't for years. Her mail didn't stack up, her lawn was mowed, her driveway was cleared of snow, and many of her bills were paid automatically. Now, as far as the mail thing goes, the letter carrier, Kimberly Montez, said that Fahrenkopf had approached her at some point, she didn't say when, and told her to stop delivering her mail because she paid her bills online. Montez says Postal Service policy and federal law prohibits her from halting mail deliveries. So Fahrenkopf would let the mail remain in a mounted mailbox on the house until it was too full for any more, and Montez then collected the pile of mail, took it back to the post office as unclaimed.
Wow,
So,
that's like they're making her job really hard.
right. So she would deliver as much as she could. Pia would never open it, never take it out, just ignore it. And then eventually the mail would disappear because the mail carrier would take it back to the post office.
Man.
Now, neighbors didn't see Fahrenkopf much, saying she rarely had visitors and would leave her home for long periods of time and kept to herself. If you would wave or say hi when she drove by or went by walking her dog, she wouldn't really respond, a neighbor wrote in a statement to investigators. One neighbor told police in a statement that Fahrenkopf had paid him to mow her lawn, maintaining her yard, and shovel her snow for 2 or 3 years. He said, I realized sometime around 2007 that I hadn't heard from her because I had a riding lawnmower. I continued to mow her grass because of the effect of not doing so reflected negatively on the appearance of our lawn as well as our street and neighborhood. I also continued to remove snow as well because she appeared to have moved, and it allowed me to park my truck in her driveway for the duration of time, he wrote. Never did I encounter or see any unusual activity at her home during this time. Now, when that man moved in 2013, another neighbor, a woman, took over her yard work also for free. She said, I mowed the lawn to keep the neighborhood looking neat and clean and for my safety. If this house looked vacant, burglars would target it and then look at my house. Each month, payments for many of her bills were automatically withdrawn from her bank account, including her mortgage, which was $1,088.89. Her last house payment was March 1st, 2013. And that's what started this series of events. So, 5 months earlier, neighbors had reported Fahrenkopf's house had a huge hole in the roof. An inspector with Pontiac's Department of Building and Safety went to the home and put a notice on the door for the owner, but the inspector didn't have the authority to enter the house. However, when her mortgage payment stopped and the house was foreclosed on, workers were sent in to preserve the house. So in January, that would be January 2014, the mortgage holder sent two men to inspect the house and garage and take photographs. They went to the garage and one of them opened the door of a 2003 green Jeep Liberty, searched for the registration, and then left. They reported nothing unusual. Then Trademark Property Solutions was hired to make repairs, and two other men were dispatched to fix the hole in the roof that was allowing raccoons to nest there. They were also supposed to take photos of the house and garage. Now, on March 5th, 2014, Matthew Anderson and Charles Goff walked into the two-car garage and saw the SUV parked there. Goff later told deputies he saw what he thought was a Halloween mask in the back seat and opened the door. It smelled like death, Goff said. The pair ran from the house and called 911. Oakland County Sheriff's deputies arrived on the scene and made a stunning discovery. Pia Fahrenkopf, dressed in a black jacket, blue shirt, and jeans, was slumped in the back seat of the SUV, her knees behind the driver's seat. Her body was mummified and was frozen to the back seat. Spiderwebs coated the inside of the vehicle. More than $500 in cash was found in her pocket. The key was partially in the ignition. The Jeep still had 2.5 gallons of gas in the tank. About 200 pieces of unopened mail were scattered inside the SUV, postmarked from 2005 to 2007. Near her body was an almost empty bottle of wine with no fingerprints on it. Now that's weird. And empty cigarette packs littered the garage floor. The house was a mess. The sump pump had stopped working and black mold crawled up the walls. The rooms were strewn with clothing, mail, and other debris. Trash, including dozens of 2-liter pop bottles, were scattered across the floor. It appeared Fahrenkopf, who lived alone, died in early 2009, said Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard. Deputies checked credit card activity, subpoenaed the bank, phone, and health records, searching for clues, and created a timeline of her last known activity to try to narrow down when she died.
Okay, so Pia was mummified to the
Yes.
backseat. That is a disturbing image.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So, we looked at extensively into a variety of things, said Bouchard, calling the investigation massively thorough. Bouchard said nothing found at the scene or during an autopsy made investigators think anyone had harmed Fahrenkopf. There were no signs of forced entry, no wounds from stabbing or gunshot, and no note left behind, he said. The medical record showed that Fahrenkopf, who was 44 when she is believed to have died, smoked a pack and a half of cigarettes daily, drank alcohol, and was worried about her liver and back, according to the investigators' report obtained by the Free Press through the Freedom of Information Act request. Cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and kidney disease run in her family, the report said. There was no trauma to her body, so it only leads to a couple of conclusions, Bouchard said during the interview. Either it was a medical situation that led to her death or something self induced. Dr. Bernardo Pancras, the Oakland County Deputy Medical Examiner who conducted the autopsy, said he was unable to determine how she died. Her organs were so mummified, he said they couldn't be examined.
Gross.
The possibility of hypothermia or any drug or chemical intoxication cannot be ruled out, he said. Packers said it's unlikely she died of carbon monoxide poisoning because the gas tank wasn't empty, which makes sense because, if she had died of carbon monoxide poisoning, it wouldn't be 2.5 gallons left. It would have
It
ran
continuously ran until it died
right.
from.
Unless, well, I guess it depends. Well, no, it would have just ran till it ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as for the position of the car key, Bouchard said the man who was looking for the registration says he may have touched it to check the mileage, but he can't remember for sure. My thing is, okay, they went in January, saw the car, opened it, looked for the registration. They did not realize she was in the back seat. Like it didn't,
They didn't smell it.
right. Like, because the other two men who came in March said it smelled like death when they opened the car. Like, did maybe he just thought, okay, the car's a mess. Maybe it's food in here somewhere. Let me just grab this registration and go.
Mm.
I mean, he could have just like literally been like, okay, because sometimes you leave food bags or, well, not you. We know how crazy you are about your car. Some
Absolutely.
people, some people might, like leave a bag of fast food or like, a orange might roll out when you buy groceries and you don't know, and then it's under your seat and
Not
it's
the
stinking.
orange.
Yes, the orange or a potato, like anything could have,
What if potatoes like grow just in the meantime anyway? You come back to your car, there'll be 7 potatoes there.
yeah, you're like, man, I left a whole bag of potatoes out here. Like, no, nature. No, but I mean, I could definitely understand, especially with you know, the state of the car, all the mail around, all the trash everywhere in the house and in the garage. It probably didn't dawn on him that it was a bad smell because she was in the back seat. They probably thought it was just like all the trash, or for all I mean, for all we know, maybe they were nose blind, like, being in the house full of trash and junk and dirt and like stale sitting water. He probably just didn't
Mm,
even realize it after a point.
yeah.
And he was probably like, okay, this stinks too. Let me just grab this registration, check the mileage, get out of here because I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Mm.
I mean, because did he really have a point to ramble around in the back seat?
No.
No. So, some reject the suggestion that Pia might have committed suicide, saying it would have been out of her character. Logan, her sister, told the Free Press that she believes her sister was murdered, though she doesn't have any proof. She thinks her sister's behavior indicates that she was in fear of something or someone. Logan considered asking a TV show that deals in unsolved mysteries to look into the case further. There's got to be something that somebody missed, she said. I just hope people don't give up. Other relatives and friends said they don't know what to think. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea, her sister LeBlanc said shortly after her sister was discovered. I just don't
Logan,
understand.
LeBlanc, and Pia.
Yeah, they had some interesting names.
Whatever the other 7 names are.
I know I would like to know too. Now, LeBlanc said, I don't understand how anybody would just sit in the back seat of their own car and just stay there. Why would you do that? Which is a good question. Like, was she obviously wasn't intending to go somewhere if she was sitting in the back seat. So that's one of the things that kind of is very mysterious. Like, why was she in the back seat? After she was positively identified in July using DNA, Fahrenkopf was cremated. Her ashes now sit on an organ at Logan's house in Massachusetts, near the ashes of her sister and her mother. Her family had tried to call Pia in 2012 when her mother died, but couldn't reach her. By that time, Pia herself had been deceased for years. And unless new evidence or information is discovered, the case is no longer being actively investigated. But that does not satisfy some of Pia's relatives. And that's my story.
Dang, man, that's a tough one.
Right? Like, could you imagine? Like, okay, now we know your sister doesn't answer phone calls or text, but if you show
But
up at her door, she answers. She does come by to drop her kids off. We see her. It's like nobody seemed to have gone to her house and been like, okay, it's been way too long. Why are you not talking to anybody?
yeah, mm,
Like they knew in 2008 she didn't have a job, like toward the end of 2008. So she didn't have any reason to like really just be out of town like she used to.
yeah,
So why did not anybody from her family like just literally go? That's what I don't understand. She was in her garage for all that time.
that's crazy.
Right. Now I understand the neighbors, like, she was always standoffish, always in and out, in and out. People didn't see her that much anyway. Like, unless your neighbors are just weirdos, they don't have any reason to go like looking in your windows and in your garage and stuff like that.
But they'll cut that grass for you though. She had a good
Yeah,
system
because
with that.
that homeowners association was on them. They were probably
Yeah.
like, "Hey, somebody needs to handle this,"
Said, could you go cut Miss Farragut's grass again, please? Thank you so much.
or they probably just did it so they wouldn't have to hear anything or you know get any notices themselves. Like, hey, you know what? Let's just go ahead and take care of this. Let's just.
Yeah, I wonder how they took the news when they heard about it.
I know. It's just strange. Like you can be missing, but literally in your house for that long and nobody knows.
Missing in plain sight.
Right. And if she hadn't had such a good job to where she had that much money saved up, they would have found her a lot earlier because her house would have went into foreclosure a lot earlier.
Right, right.
But man, I wish that they would have been able to find out like what actually caused her death. Because I think that kind of would have gave the family like some kind of closure and some peace on the situation. Or if some kind of foul play was involved, they would have known to look harder.
Yeah. And who was Pia's enemy? That is the question.
It doesn't seem like she made enough connections to have enemies.
Doesn't seem that way. Mm.
Yeah.
Well, Key, that was a very mysterious tale indeed. I was not expecting to hear about anyone being mummified that was not in Egypt. So, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that tale with us. Now, my story, I'm going to begin mine with the details
Mm,
because this person was missing, but who was it? You know?
right.
So, on April 8th, 1981, a group of hunters driving through the Arizona desert saw a denim jacket hanging from a tree near Holton Road and Interstate 10. The hunters then looked around the area and discovered a body lying on the ground. The body was clothed in denim jeans, white socks with pink pom poms, a white bra, blue underwear, blue suede shoes, and a unique blouse that was dark blue and had puffy reddish colored sleeves with a flower design. So of course they immediately reported this, and investigators theorized that by the clothing that the person could have been involved in a local county fair that occurred around the time of their murder. Scratches on the victim's body suggested the victim had been walking or running through wooded area before their death. After medical examiners conducted an autopsy, it was deduced that the remains were of a young woman between the ages of 18 and 22 who was strangled to death. It was determined that she died 1.5 to 2 days before her body was discovered. She was severely beaten in addition to being sexually assaulted.
Damn,
E-
that's messed up.
yeah, it is she was only out there for a day and a half to 2 days, but I guess the hot Arizona sun and her being beaten, her tissue being much softer and whatever. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that was
So
some rough. Arizona is a rough terrain.
you live in Arizona?
Well, I worked out there for 3 months, so I
Mm.
guess I lived out there in Phoenix when I was a trainer for my job, and it was during the summertime, and it was still like over 100 degrees at night.
Oh, at night?
Yes,
Ugh.
it was excruciatingly hot, but beautiful. I liked it out there, but man, was it hot.
I did hear something from someone who they had relatives in Arizona, and sometimes you can't touch the doorknob if it's metal because you could fry your hand, you fry your palm if you grab the doorknob too fast or something like that.
I believe it. Like, luckily, I was living in a hotel for that 3 months, but I definitely believe that because I like burnt my fingertips on the car door a couple times
Mm-hmm.
because there was
Ouch.
no like covered parking. So yeah, and it was like just kind of like a dry, stifling heat. Like if you just turned your oven on to 500 and opened the door and just stood in front of it for no reason, like that's the way it
That's
felt all day.
Arizona.
That is Arizona.
Oh man, so I guess that explains our victim's state of decay then. So, even though the body was in an advanced state of decomposition, which left her facially unrecognizable, fingerprints and dental records were obtained. Sadly, though, no missing person cases were a match. So at this point, they deem this woman the Pima County Jane Doe. So while trying to identify Jane Doe, police were investigating and compiling a case against a gentleman named John Kohlhauser. He was responsible for the murder of his wife and a 52-year-old man, as well as numerous other violent offenses dating back to 1979. In 1995, while building the case against Kohlhauser, a photograph of a young woman with light hair holding a bouquet was found in his possession. And so now we're going to transport ourselves 17 years in the future in 2012.
Mm.
So after an exhumation of the body, the victim's face was digitally reconstructed after her skull was examined via a CT scan. And fast forwarding another 2 years, the investigating team matched the lady in the photograph with Jane Doe. And on December 23rd of that year, the female's brother, Bill Guerrero Jr., received a notification from the police that the female in the picture could have been his sister. And almost an entire year later, in September of 2015, the authorities were able to publicly announce that Jane Doe was Brenda Guerrero. So, who is Brenda at this point? Brenda Marie Guerrero was born February 18, 1960, in Nassau, Hillsborough County, New Hampshire, to William Joseph Guerrero and Brenda Louise Harriman. Brenda was the oldest of her siblings. and she seemed to have disappeared in around July of 1980 after leaving with John, aka Jack Kohlhauser, her boyfriend at the time. She had worked at a convenience store as well as a bartender at an establishment in Drycut, Massachusetts, and often frequented by bikers. She remained in contact with her family and had at one point called home stating that she would be returning, yet she never did. So her family tried to report her missing, though local police declined to cooperate due to the fact that she was an adult when she vanished. I think that's kind of jacked up.
I do too. I hate that. Like, I think it's gotten better now, but back in the day, if you were like an assumed runaway, they wouldn't report you as missing. If you were like 18 and older, they wouldn't report you as missing. Like, they did not care if they thought you were an adult. They just was like, oh, well, adults have the right to go where they want to go. Bye.
Right, yeah. It's crazy. And and that's pretty much it. Brenda was about 5'2" to 5'3" and weighed around 100 to 110 pounds at the time of her death. So she was a itty bitty girl. And John, aka Jack Hauser, was a fairly decent sized guy. And so for him to have beat her and strangled her, it's just awful. Still no like indication on how her jacket was hanging on the tree. I think that's kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of strange. Like, did did Kohlhauser do that to lead people to her body? Because why would he do that? You know. But he did.
Maybe she was running and was trying to like throw it at him and it got caught in the tree.
Oh yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I mean, dude went like another 14 years before he got caught, and the only reason he got caught was because he murdered his wife and the man that she was having an affair with.
So technically, he's a serial killer.
Yeah, he's had multiple instances of murdering people.
So did they say how they figured it out other than him having the picture of her?
Oh, having the picture of her, and then her brother like verifying that she was dating this man back when around the time where when she did go missing. Like that's pretty much it. And
Oh,
I and like but like her but what hold on wait to say her murder was not listed on his offenses though when he went to jail. He only went to jail because of the murder of his wife and the 52-year-old man. The one against Brenda, he was never charged for that.
right. Probably because they realized who it was so far in the future.
Yeah, but he still
Because when did
killed
he go to
someone
jail?
though. Uh, I think he went to jail in 1995. Maybe like
Okay,
95,
yes.
96. So that was 14, 15 years after.
After she was dead, but still another like 14, 15 years before they discovered who she even was.
Right, right.
Because they didn't, like, all this didn't wrap up to like 2015, you said?
Yeah, yeah. 2015 is when they got like the concrete information that this is Brenda Marie Garreau.
Oh, wow. So about
But
20 years then.
yeah, and what's so crazy is that she was found in Arizona. She was found in Tux. How do you pronounce it? Tucson.
Tucson.
Man, she was found in Tucson, Arizona, but her family last heard from her in Drycut, Massachusetts. So that is quite the distance. Just off the top of my head, I think that's quite the distance.
Yeah, because that's like coast to coast pretty much. So I
Yeah.
wonder what, like what they were doing. Like, Okay, they said they thought she was with like the carnival or whatever had been in town.
Hmm.
So maybe that was what they were doing. They were both working for a carnival. That seems like it would be fun, but really hard.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Kind
Don't
of dirt.
even don't even get me. Oh wait, you said carnival. I started thinking circus.
Yeah, because
Totally,
like you got to
totally
set
different thing.
those. This is why I don't ride carnival rides because they have to set those things up and pull them down so quick. No, no,
Can't
honey,
trust it, right? Fly off the
cannot trust.
hinges. Final destination.
Mm, it will not. I will go. I'll watch everybody else ride. I will not step foot on the carnival ride. Now, a theme park, they build those up and let them stay. They do their maintenance, but they don't move them around every couple days. I can ride a
Yeah.
roller coaster in a theme park.
Okay, that was my case of the unfortunate the unfortunate case of Brenda Marie Garreau.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It's like there's so much unknown. Like where was she? Like what were they doing? Why did they end up in Arizona? You know, of course, like since she wasn't from around there, they would have like if he didn't have that picture, then she would have just remained a Jane Doe forever.
Yeah, really.
Because it's like I don't know how they do the dental record requests, but I would think it would probably be like for the area that you find the person in, you just assume that they maybe live around that area if you don't know who they are.
Yeah, yeah. I never even thought of that because I wouldn't think the dental records are
A
like
national
nationwide
database,
records.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything happens to me, I have dental records in Houston, in uh ooh, South Carolina maybe.
Maybe.
Those are probably like super old though. Like all my recent ones are from Houston because I've had like my wisdom teeth removed recently. X-rays, all kind of stuff. Like good insurance, you get your dental work done. So yeah, if anything happens to me, tell them to look for my dental records in Houston.
Okay. Dental records in Houston.
Yeah,
You got it.
Sugar Land, the land of sugar. So now that we have talked about mummified remains and missing people who it took decades for them to identify, how shall we end this?
Hmm. I want to thank our listeners once again.
Thank you.
We are
Danka.
we are recording via Skype
Gracias.
once more, and we will
Sheshe.
attempt to deliver the best quality we can to you. And we appreciate you continuing to listen to us.
Domo arigato. Okay, that's like all the languages I can say thank you in.
That was pretty good. Did you say gracias?
I did say gracias.
Oh, but that was pretty good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So, yes, definitely thanks to our listeners, the people in our Facebook group, Pam, who, like, interacts with us so much, our Instagram, WStat_pod, our Twitter, WStat_pod. You know, we still have the email going if you want to send us anything. We shouldn't talk about this at gmail.com. We're working on a website so that we can get the actual um, what's that called? The script of what we say. I know there's an actual word for it.
Transcript, right?
Transcript, yeah. So that there will be transcripts along with all the sources that we use because I know I'm very behind on that and I apologize. But I'm trying to get the website together so that the hearing impaired can actually read what we say and, see the sources to look into it on their own. If they're not able to listen, that's something that I really want to get into. It's just very time consuming. And even though we're in quarantine, I do still have my regular job. So thank you, everyone. And, you know, life's good. Eat some fruit,
Eat some fruit.
drink some water,
Drink lots of water.
get some sun.
Vitamin D is good for you.
It is. Well, I guess that's everything for today. I feel like our stories, like my story was really one that really made me think. People just really have to be more cognizant of their family and friends, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not saying it's your responsibility to like keep tabs on every adult in your life, but if you know there's someone that maybe doesn't reach out as much or maybe doesn't have like a strong family bond with their immediate family, like reach out like, hey, you good? I haven't heard from you in a few months. Just wanted to
Hmm.
check. You know, why not?
Why not?
Each one reach one.
Was there very powerful words by Key right there?
Oh yeah. Even though I'm still going to be a behavioral analyst, I'm also a psychologist on this podcast and a motivational speaker.
That's a woman of many hats right there.
Yeah, I feel like when you ask kids like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're like, I want to be an astronaut and a sheriff and a chef and a ninja. And like these things. That's me on this podcast.
Right.
Boom, boom. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us once again. I'm Key,
MV,
and we shouldn't talk about this.
thanks for listening.
Bye.